Welcome to TOMMO'S Race CHINWAG, your favourite Formula 1 podcast, produced by a British biased bloke with a big forehead. Probably. Broadcast live on YouTube and after the fact on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We have a good old natter about each and every Grand Prix of the season, before and after. So my name's Tommo, and without further ado, let's talk about it. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We are back. It's felt like a minute, hasn't it? But we're here. Thank you all for joining me live here on YouTube. Halita, IBK, Anna, Upton, J-Dub, Reese, Spoke, Alfie, and the rest of you. Yes, inbuilt, baked-in intro on these live podcast streams, whatever you want to call them, here on YouTube. Whew. It's good to be back. It's been a while, so I'm going to be a bit rusty, right? But we're here to talk about 2025, the first proper stream of the 2025 Formula 1 season. It's good to be back. I can't believe this is the 7th year I've been covering Formula 1 on YouTube, because I started my first video when Albon replaced Gasly at Red Bull was in 2019. Rest of 2019, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Barbaric. And we're still here. We're still chugging along, all right, doing our thing. Welcome everyone, thank you all for joining me. Let's talk a little bit about F1 75 live at the O2. I didn't go, I've got liveries to work on, okay? We will talk about it, we will crack on. I'm going to be uploading a lot, okay, in the next week or so. I'm going to try and do 2 a day, that's the aim. We'll see how that goes. So make sure you like and subscribe. Get subscribed, right? Because you need to get locked in, okay? Was it any good? What did we think, everyone? I put a poll for all of you watching live here on YouTube, on the beautiful platform that is YouTube. It only gives 4 options in the poll, as always. What did you think of F1 25, the event, the 2-hour event in London at the O2? Was it a banger? Was it a clanger? Was it a small bang? Was it a mild clang? What were your expectations going into it? Because you got to think, right, at the O2, it was always going to be, if you've been to the O2 before, which I have, when I've been to the O2 for something, I actually can't remember what it was. It was years ago, but I've definitely been the O2 for something, like in terms of in the O2, in the actual venue. I've been to the outskirt bit, right? If you know, you go into the O2 and there's like loads of food and drinks places. It's kind of like a little, I don't know, it's like a little Disney World inside, you know, where it's got all the food and the grub and you can eat. And then you go into the event space, which is kind of central in what was the Millennium Dome back in the day. So yeah, it was I would have liked to have gone, of course, right? But liveries have got to get done. Not a priority for me to go there, but it's always nice to, you know, go to these kind of fan events. And well, hopefully it won't be the last, because I'll tell you what, I thought it was pretty good. For me, personally, it exceeded my expectations. I agree with, someone said that in the chat, Stick Tack, you said it exceeded expectations, and I very much agree. I think going into it, I thought it was going to be big. I thought there was going to be a lot of razzmatazz, but actually the execution of the event, in my opinion, was very good for a live event as well, by the way, right? And live is always a bit tricky, but it felt very well. Of course, there was some little bits and bobs. You know, old Gordon couldn't help himself but drop the S-bomb. And all in all, that was about it. There was a couple of little funny kind of transitions that didn't quite hit the standard you'd expect, but from a live production, it was very seamless. The way they got all the F1 cars out at the end with all the drivers, and that was very slick, clearly, because they didn't have much time after I'll Take That did their little sing-song to wrap that up and get everyone out. All in all, yeah, I think it was good from a sitting at home on the telly with Minton and Hannah watching along. I very much enjoyed it. There were some very funny moments. There was there were many moments. There's plenty to talk about, okay? There's plenty to wag our chins into. And this is exactly what this live stream is for. I actually took notes while I was watching, which I don't typically take notes for anything, which maybe I should do. Maybe that should be my 2025 resolution, to take more notes. But I did actually take notes for this. And also, the stream status on YouTube is coming up as good / poor for some reason. Don't really know why. But yeah, we'll crack on, shall we? The music choice was a choice. Well, there was there was plenty of music. Obviously, MGK came out at the start. I'm not too familiar personally with this new generation MGK, where he's a bit more of a singer. Well, you know what I respect? Okay, where you had Tash, you had MGK, you had Take That at the end. You had the fella who sings that, I don't know what his name was, the one who's got the buzz cut, who it's like a country and western song. I thought it had a bit of everything for everyone. You know what I mean? Even the Alpine DJ, who played for way too long, by the way, other than that, pretty good. Kane Brown, that's the one. So, you know what, as much as not all the music has to be your cup of tea, because F1 has a very broad and diverse fan base who are into a lot of different things. So, fair enough that it's not all just going to be the same music. But yeah, MGK coming out, leading the way. And then pretty quickly after, I mean, it was a 2-hour event, but obviously got 10 teams to get through, plus all of the music. So actually they wrapped through it pretty quickly. I think me and Ham at the end both thought, like, actually that went pretty fast. Like, have we already got through all 10 teams? Which is typically a pretty good thing, because apart from, I would say the only parts where I kind of switched off a bit was the Alpine DJ, who just that set was 2 times longer than it should have been, you know. Other than that, and I mean, I didn't really listen to Take That at the end, I'll be honest. I had to do some washing up, so I was like, there's other things to do, right? Other than that, I was pretty locked in. And you know what as well? And he was catching some strays beforehand, the decision to put Jack Whitehall in for that. But actually, and I've not really consumed much of Jack Whitehall's stuff over recent years. When I used to watch TV, you'd see him on, popping up on, I don't know, what's the one, Would I Lie to You and stuff like that, right? Occasionally. And I've seen him once, and I like Jack Whitehall. I think he's quite funny. But I've not seen him for a while. But actually, I think he was perfect for something like this, because he was just ripping everyone. And I do think as well, like, yeah, I know some people were saying beforehand that, it should be an F1 person, blah, blah, blah. But almost that does stink a little bit of trying to, be like, this is our sport, right? And we're not allowed to have anyone in who's like, Jack Whitehall's funny. He rips everyone. And he brought an energy that actually I thought was quite good, because he can get a bit stuffy in F1, can't it? It can. There is definitely a risk that we put up too many of these barriers and we try and gatekeep this sport a bit too much, right? And I think he was really good, actually. There were some awkward moments, but typically it was even when it was awkward, it was usually funny awkward, rather than being like unnecessarily awkward. But you know what as well? I think, I like Jack Whitehall. I think it was funny. I think he did a good job. Not everyone's going to like him, in the same way that not everyone's going to like every single musician who comes out. You're never going to please everyone, right? So you might as well do something bold and strong. And I think Jack was a strong, bold choice, and I think it paid off. And I think he did a really, really good job. So yeah, exactly as you say, Dennis. Jack did well. He did very well. It was a refreshing change up. But then also they had Laura Winter and Ariana Bravo and Lawrence Barretto in there to give those, to do those bits. I feel like the show itself felt really well put together, I think it flowed nicely. And again, apart from the Alpine DJ, it didn't really drag on for me at all. So, and actually in the poll, most of you, 15% of you banger, 49% small bang, 26% mild clang, 11% of you clanger. So 37% of you have a overall negative takeaway from it, and the rest are positive, which I think is a better score than I was expecting going into it. And I think they've, again, done a pretty good job. Done a pretty good job. Give respect to Brian Tyler, absolutely. So, shall we go into it then? I guess team by team. I'm not just going to focus on the livery, because, of course, for my livery redesigns, I will go into each and every livery, look at them, properly rate them, properly kind of rank them relative to one another, along with my redesign videos that I'll be doing over the next week or so. But we'll touch on it. We'll touch on the livery, but talk also just about what went on. Starting with the first team that rolled it out in the bright green. Unfortunately, still carrying the medium rare sponsor that, I'm not a fan of. Although, let's be real. I'm sure if I read into a lot of the sponsors in F1, I wouldn't be fans of them either. But obviously, I'm just very glaringly aware of what this organisation is all about. However, let's start with Sauber. This is a hell of a livery. I've got to say, even though the gradient on the actual car that we saw there didn't really work, the gradient from green to black, on the renders, and I'm sure on the real thing, c'est magnifique. Love it. What I didn't love is that in the lineup, before it showed the car, the last two words, I'm pretty sure it's pretty much the last two words that was said were hustle harder, which actually made me throw up a little bit. When you throw up a little bit in your mouth, but you just kind of, it's not just me, surely. You know that? It was hustle harder. No. Awful. Thomas Hill, you are wrong. It does not look terrible. It looks wonderful. I think this is a bit of me. This is a bit of me, okay? Shame about the sponsor again, but we'll look past that. Did you see Nico as well? Nico was on the tube. There's something about seeing Nico Hulkenberg on the tube on the way to the event that just was like, if this man offers you his seat, what are you saying? Like, Nico Hulkenberg on the tube, it just doesn't register in my head. Jubilee line. So it's a decent, as tube lines go, Jubilee's pretty decent. It's pretty clean. It's pretty consistent. Jump on at Stratford, get through to Greenwich. Pretty rapid. Get off Canary Wharf or the O2 in this example. I think that was jarring. That was jarring. And also seeing Gabby Bortoletto with Mattia Binotto is like big nephew uncle. Energy with that. Bortoletto and Mattia Binotto, just sweet. He seems like a sweet kid. Does Gabby though? I'm looking forward to seeing him this year. I think I put him as my best rookie of the year. I think he's going to do a really good job, and I'm excited to see what he can deliver. But yes, I think this livery is lovely. End of a green and black era as we move to Audi, which is going to be a much more toned down. And Audi are quite corporate, you got to say. So going out with a bang, done a very good job on this livery. And this one is, I don't think it matters how long I look at it. It's just going to be lovely. Very simple, but very good. Hello, Marcos. Welcome. Thank you for coming along. Right, cool. Next team after Sauber was Will.i.am's. Certainly was. Vowles came out. James Vowles owned the stage himself, introduced himself. Carlos got a really good reception, didn't he? Carlos got obviously a lot of. I think this move has definitely galvanised the Carlos fans that already existed, to which they were many, and rightly so. He's been around for a long time. He said himself he's been at half the teams on the grid now, because he was at Toro Rosso, Renault, McLaren, Ferrari, Williams. Decent. He's been around the block as old Carlos, but yeah, he got very, very well received, and I'm glad. And again, I think his current fan base are galvanised, and also, there is a lot of, understandably, there's a lot of people who feel almost quite sorry for him, and I get it, right? You see a driver of his ability, what he's been able to achieve in this sport, in the Ferrari car in particular, but you just hope for him that him and Alex can lead this team forward, and it's a strong team partnership for sure. It's a strong partnership. So it's strong partnership. Livery wise, it's a back step for me. The front navy is the most kind of offensive thing to me, and actually I think it was better when they used more of a distinctive difference in the blues, because this feels like it's like a gradient livery again, almost similar to Sauber. Sauber was a gradient, this is a gradient. That My Protein and Komatsu just don't kind of having those different shades of blue to split them apart more, like they did in last year's livery, was better. Obviously, Atlassian have come in and, you know, they're taking up a lot of space as the title sponsor, and so understandably so for that. But yeah, I'm not feeling it this year. I'm not feeling it. Not my cup of tea, Williams, I'm afraid. But, you know, good energy from Alex and Carlos. They seem to be having fun on stage. You see Alex and Carlos creasing in the background a couple of times when they weren't even talking about them. So that was kind of interesting. But yes, the Duracell integration is still very, very smart. But I think I can do a better job. And I guess you'll see when I do my livery redesign of this Williams, won't we? Right, next team. And I think this one's going to go down pretty well. Racing Bulls. Yes. So, Isaac, Yuki, walking out. Did the little skit with Munya, which was quite... It was all right. It was good. It was creative. All you can say about it, right, whether it's Racing Bulls or Red Bull, is that their videos were creative and interesting. And it wasn't just a DJ, okay? It wasn't just looking back at their past. Okay, those are kind of easy wins when you've got that history. Obviously, Red Bull don't have that legacy that Ferrari and McLaren do, but they did something creative with it. It was kind of funny, kind of in bits. It was all right. And did you see as well, Yuki tried to do a... Because him and Isaac turned up in a S2000 Honda, an old... say old. Geez, I remember when that car was pretty new. Mid-2000s S2000 tried to do a burnout, and... the donut was a bit... it was a bit stale, Yuki. I've got to give you that. It was a bit stale, mate. However, what isn't stale is the livery. Now, of course, it was only a matter of time, surely, before Red Bull decided to take their sister team and just make it white, because we saw in, what was it, 2011? Was it 2011 in Japan when Red Bull ran the white bull in Suzuka? That was good fun. And one of my favourite liveries of all time in F1 still. This obviously very heavily inspired by the use of that, because that worked so well there and it worked so well here. You've still got the Red Bull branding in it. This is what this team should have been earlier. Was it 21 Turkey? Was it? Why do I think that's in... No, okay, that's why. It was meant to be in Japan, wasn't it, that livery? But then Suzuka didn't happen in 21, right? Wrong year and country, Tommy, you're drunk. I'm sure that Red Bull livery, that was meant to be Suzuka, wasn't it? Yeah, okay. Did I say 2011? Okay, no, I actually am drunk. Jesus. Wow. Okay. No, fair. I definitely thought I said 21, but I knew Japan was related to it because of COVID. Yeah, okay. So I'm not completely insane, just partially insane, okay? It's fine. We've been away for a while. I told you I'm going to be rusty, all right? I told you. At least I'm early this time, okay? How many Coke Zero? I'd love to say it's a Bacardi and Coke, but it really isn't. It really is not. But yes, this livery, simply lovely. The Red Bulls at the back, the blue Red Bulls towards the back of the car, maybe a bit fiddly. Not 100% on that. But yeah, they've done a good job. This definitely up there in terms of one of the stronger liveries on the grid. And I guess, look, you look at Red Bull, they didn't even show theirs. Spoiler alert. McLaren barely needed to because theirs hardly changed. But then again, like, you know, when you stick with a consistent livery year after year after year, you build that legacy, you build that brand, right? And it's when you're chopping and changing livery all the time, you don't really achieve that. So I'd argue it's better to, well, it is better from a marketing point of view to have a consistent livery. Do what McLaren is starting to do now and what Red Bull have done for a long time. Have that base livery that stays consistent, and then 24 races a year now, way more than there used to be. Plenty of opportunity to mix it up, you know, for 4, 5, 6 races of the year. Do something different, do a special edition, give the fans something a bit more interesting, but just keep it calm and relaxed and regular for the season as it goes on, you know. He's on the gear. I wish not. But yeah, all in all, Red Bull, Racing Bulls, should I say? I thought the launch was okay. Some people didn't enjoy it, but livery's a banger. So well done, Racing Bulls. Okay, on to Haas. some lovely renders here of the Haas, obviously Ollie and Esteban, the tall boys. Very America, wasn't it, in the little promo piece? Kind of cool, obviously. You know, they've been around, what, to be their 10th season in F1 now. Haas, so they've been around still not long in the grand scheme of things, right? It's mad to think how it just feels normal that Haas are in the sport, even though they've not been here forever. And it's always funny seeing Aokamatsu with Ollie and Esteban, because he's so much shorter than them two. But yeah, that was cool. It's a nice little piece actually that Haas put together. I thought that was one of the better kind of. It was very simple, just a piece to camera from the American bloke, but it was nice to just reflect and relive. Oh yeah, they've achieved a lot in a fairly short period of time. As for the livery, look, I'm pretty happy with it. Apart from that nose, that big long white nose. No, like they should have kept extending the back. That nose is just, I just really don't like it. Like I really don't. That bottom shot that you can see here, that bottom quarter shot, lovely. That front shot, if I just cover up the nose, not even the front wing, just the nose, lovely. The nose, static. The nose cannot be your favourite part. You are lying. You are not. That is the biggest cap I've ever seen in my life. Stop. Okay. That nose is awful. Apart from that, I'm pretty happy with it. It's a pretty sensible, easy colour palette. Still plenty of exposed carbon. Obviously, it feels like Haas are the only team that have really had to. Well, maybe it's not a choice. Maybe it's just it probably is more of a branding decision, right? Because I feel like Haas black is part of their colour palette rather than just being, oh, we've got to have exposed carbon because of the weight limit. Because no one's really worried about the weight limit so far anymore, should I say, because we're at the end of this reg cycle and everyone's down at the weight limit. Even Williams are down at the weight limit. So that's not such a problem. But obviously, yeah, if anything, it's quite refreshing. No, I'm not going that far. But the fact that it has to have a lot of black on their livery actually isn't such a, standout thing anymore compared to, in 22 and 23 when it was just exposed carbon everywhere. That was a shame. But yeah, Haas, you know what? Pretty decent, pretty low key, pretty decent. I liked it. It was okay. But yes, Max, I am no shaming the Haas because the nose is deeply, deeply offensive to me. Okay, next team. After the DJ spent way too long on the decks. Also, do you reckon the fringe is going to come back? Because I feel like the mullet's had its moment, and obviously you've got before the mullet it was the kind of like pot noodle haircut, like the curls, and then you have mullet, and it's like maybe this DJ, right, with a massive fringe, yeah, almost like if Tommy Shelby just grew it out longer, dyed it blonde, because he had the full buzz on around the side. Maybe that's coming back, Maybe. What do you reckon, Tom? Do you reckon? Because I mean, it's good. Whatever's in next, it's going to be disgusting. But yes, Alpine. This livery. I'll start with the livery chat here. This is, look, I'm glad to see that really nice Le Bleu back. Okay, that's cool, and I like the shade of pink. Okay, on the BWT. But then you look at it at the front and it looks like last year's car. This feels like a really disjointed livery to me. I think that maybe it's because we've got used to seeing the all pink Alpine. But I think from the front, it's too pink. I think the front angle, when you look on it, which of course I've not shown you a front on angle, but you can look it up yourself. The front on angle of the Alpine, I think, needs some of that Le Bleu in it. If that was the case, I think it would look a little bit more well put together. But yeah, just from the front, it's like just pink. From the side, it's pretty good. But yeah, it's not quite gelling for me. It's hard to really put my finger on it, it's not quite gelling as a full livery piece for me. But it's not bad. It's not bad. I just feel like with that colour palette, it should be stronger. Even like just the stroke around the BWT. I feel like that should be thicker. But yeah, there's a lot of things I like about it. I just think it's not quite worked. The Baskin-Robbins in totality. Also, did you see when Ollie Oakes came out? Oh, bless him, right? Because you can tell that Ollie is still... He's not... And fair play to him, right? Because most people wouldn't be. He's not a natural when it comes to like the interview stuff, and he's still getting used to that side of things, right? And he's very young, so he's going to have a long time team principling, I'm sure, and he'll learn these skills as he goes. But when it was, I think it was Laura Winter I asked him, and he was like, "I guess we need to rise higher, don't we?" And it was like, "Oh, Ollie, bless you, man." It was quite endearing, but I couldn't help but laugh. But yes, disjointed livery. Jack and Pierre have skinheads, and I hope Jack gets a fair crack at the whip. That's all I hope. I hope he gets a fair shot at it. If it's not the seat for him and it's Franco's, we've seen, as much as I can't see it on the renders, although it probably is there somewhere, Mercado Libre have officially announced their partnership with Alpine from next year onwards. So, from this year onwards, sorry. From now onwards, this year. Which means, obviously, they've followed Franco over. So, obviously, Williams would have known that if they were allowing Franco to go Mercado Libre, and other sponsors would follow him, because that's the whole... Well, that's not the whole point, because Franco's very talented, and we saw that. But that's a big part of the point, okay? Either way. Alpine, not bad. Now, before we carry on to the next, quick reminder. Enjoying the podcast, please drop a like, a 5-star rating, a comment, however you want to engage. It really does help push it out to the world and stop the AI onslaught, right? Because I am a real human being. Well, that's what an AI version of myself would tell you to think anyway. So keep you guessing. If you're enjoying it, give some love. I appreciate it. Thank you. Now back to live Tommo. I got changed very quickly, right? That was seamless, wasn't it? Absolutely seamless. Pre-recorded Tommo is back, all right? Although I don't know why I wore a blue jumper under that black Adidas top. It kind of really bothers me, but there you go. Doesn't bother me enough, clearly, does it? Right, okay. Aston Martin. James... Like, I like to think Aston were like, yeah, we're going to kind of... I don't want to be digging out any animators here, right? But the budget... Clearly, they didn't break the bank on the budget with the Aston Martin, James Bond, Fernando and Lance coming in on the boats and then into the O2, right? There was a really nice piece after that, after they cut away from Fernando and Lance walking down the stairs. In terms of that visually, that piece actually looked amazing. Like, I hope they post that in isolation, because I feel like so much work went into that. That was amazing. That was beautiful. But the James Bond bit was a bit like, I don't know about that. I don't know. Not for me. However, they did walk out. They did meander out. Did Fernando and Lance. Did also Andy Cowell, who was, fair play to him. He was kind of commanding the room a bit James Vowles-esque. Not seen him for a while. Obviously, he's now CEO and team principal, taking over Mike Crack's job, who is the butt of a couple of, no pun intended, but of Jack Whitehall's jokes. I mean, we've all made the joke, haven't we? So he's just late to the party. We had the "We Are Aston Martin" from Lawrence Stroll, kind of like the overlord that he is in the back. And then we saw the Aston Martin, which is, I think everyone would agree, downgrade on last year. Downgrade on last year from the livery point of view. Not much has changed, but they've just taken away some of that green, which is a shame, and replaced it with black on the side. I guess they've just tried... It's like they've just tried to change it for the sake of changing it. And almost I'd have rather they just kept a carbon copy of last year's, because last year's was just better. And Thames was great as well. Thames was really good. That was a nice musical choice. Again, it was nice having a good variety of musicians across the evening, right? Because it's something for everyone, which again I think reflects Formula One, the Formula One fan base, right? So that was good. Yeah, the livery's still very nice, still a very, very good looking car. But just a bit of, they just fiddled with it unnecessarily. Just keep it the same as last year. Aston Martin. You don't need to change. You know, you can just build a legacy of the same livery again and again and again. You know, Red Bull doing it, McLaren been doing it for years. McLaren are doing it now. I would have been quite happy if they kept it the same, but they didn't, did they? So yeah, and then after Aston Martin, after we saw Fernando and Lance, and Fernando was bringing some good energy, he was like, "Oh, we've already seen the best livery. Don't need to look at the rest." We did also see a bit more about the F1 movie. I've got to say, like, when we heard that Lewis Hamilton was going to be involved, that was music to my ears, because you're like, okay, well, he's, you know, been about as much as anyone, and he knows how to. I think he's going to have a good gauge of what the fans are going to respond to and not. And look, the F1 movie is ultimately not for us, first and foremost, because we're already F1 fans, right? Any of you watching now here live, it's not going to... We are not the target demographic. We're really not. However, I think it is also important that it doesn't... where's the swear jar? It doesn't piss us off, right? It's not really a swear. It doesn't get under our skin and do a massive disservice to the sport. It's important that it has that legitimacy and validity amongst the hardcore fan base that we are. So you've got to have both. I get that. And again, they've gone all in with the production and trying to keep it as... Because I think CG is that thing. It's so many F1 related movies, right? Spoiler alert, but when I think about the Ferrari movie that was out most recently, and when there's that crash, you know what I'm talking about, and the car flies in the air, and the bloke's flying in the air, it doesn't look real, you know? And I think that using real cameras and 7 cameras on the car, and if you've been to any Grand Prix and seen the cars in real life, the Apex Grand Prix cars, you know, it is impressive what they've been able to put together, and you've got to think the final product has to be something special, because the amount of money they put into it, the amount of effort, the amount of, you know, disruption to the paddock that it had brought, you know, it really needs to work. And I think that even if you're going to get some cringe acting staff and some love plot that, you know, we're not there for, of course we're not. I think they will still create something that, from what we've seen so far, it feels like it's going to be pretty impressive. And yeah, Rush is probably the best. Ford versus Ferrari as well. I think was really good. Rush has definitely set a precedent, a standard, and making those scenes feel real is what we're gonna, I think, respond well to as hardcore fans, you know. And it is impressive what they've been able to capture. But yeah, look, Cars 2, Damon, Cars 2, Rogue. Yeah, look, I think it's going to be good. I'm excited, and we kind of saw a little bit of. It wasn't just the same trailer we've seen already. It was a bit more extended. It was a bit more insight. Lewis was talking a bit about it, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm definitely looking. Gran Turismo movie will hang your head in shame, mate. Hang your head in shame. But yes. So then we had that bit of F1 75 F1 movie chat, and then we moved on to Mercedes. Now, this is interesting. Don't know if any of you noticed the lack of Ineos sponsorship on most of the car. Apart from on the inside, we can just about see in this image, on the inside of the front wing end plates is Ineos. This was, and to be honest, this was the most interesting thing about the whole Mercedes launch, because to be honest, it was pretty. They did a little look at the archive of Mercedes over the years. George and Kimi came out. Toto didn't really say too much, and then they left. Now, there's been rumours over recent days that Jim Ratcliffe and Mercedes... Basically, Jim Ratcliffe is a 1/3 owner of Mercedes. Toto Wolff owns a third. Daimler owns a third. And there's talk about Daimler purchasing Jim Ratcliffe's stake in the team. Now, He owns Ineos. He also owns Manchester United. He also owns various other sporting franchises. I think he owns Nice as well. I think it's Nice. And it feels like, because you look at that airbox and you're like, well, there's like silver there where there was red, or would it be black last year with the Ineos logo. It's now just got silver there. But also, and look, I'll have a look now on Mercedes Twitter, but if you look on Mercedes Twitter, they've not posted any renders of the car, or they hadn't when I was putting these graphics together. Maybe they have now. I'll have a look. But they were the only teams who hadn't posted any They just posted this image that you can see on screen right now. They posted this image, and you look in their cover photo as well. It's the same image, just cropped in, zoomed in. They've not posted any renders of their car, which tells me, and you put all the pieces together and you're like, right, well, this has clearly been like a late change, that the Ineos things seem, but then the Ineos is still on the car. That's what I don't get, because Ineos is still on that front wing end plate. You can see it in the pictures. So it seems that something's going on. I don't see all the other 9 teams have posted renders of their cars, but Mercedes haven't. So there must be a reason for that. There must be a reason that there's just that random silver part at the top of the car where Ineos was and now no longer is. So we'll see about that. The New Zealand All Blacks are suing Ineos for non-payment on sponsorship instalments. Yes, I did briefly. I didn't realise that was actually it, Max, but I did hear something about his being like sued, and yeah, it's getting a bit messy. So yes, all in all, the Mercedes logo is basically the same as last year, which again, I don't fundamentally have a problem with. Like, it's an okay livery. I think they could do better. I don't think it's massively ownable in the same way that Red Bull and McLaren are, and even Aston Martin. I feel like they could do more to make it really feel Mercedes and special. It doesn't really do that for me, but all in all, it's all right. It's all right. It's not bad. It's okay. It's okay. But there was really nothing more to say. There was nothing more, in my opinion, to take from the Mercedes one. New Zealand mentioned, of course, Steve. Of course, New Zealand mentioned. Why wouldn't I? And then Red Bull Racing. Now, look, I'm all for booing the FIA, okay? When the FIA logo came up, we had this chorus of boos around the room. Drink it in, okay? Love it. Even Mohammed Ben Sulayem, who a number of times, and I'm so sure he's not the right man for that job. His methods, I think, are very, very concerningly dictatorial in his style. Gotta say, MBS. However, even if he was there, if he was up on stage, as a viewer, I wouldn't find it very comfortable him just getting booed, and he would have got booed like mad if he was there, right? How much people just booing the FIA logo, let alone, which was funny, because you're booing, it's like booing a football team, like boo Spurs, because no one likes Spurs, versus like booing an individual to their face. Like, they're different. They are different, I think. And I don't mind a bit of good-hearted, like, what can I say? Like a competitive rivalry booing, like booing the driver you don't like on the podium. I'm not massively against that, because it's in the context of a sporting battle that's just happened, whatever, right? But just booing like MBS himself directly, I wouldn't really like that. But booing the FIA is fine. Anyway, I mentioned that because when Christian walked out, he was getting booed. I did feel bad for Christian, because because just seeing someone get booed up there, and he's trying to kind of, I do feel a bit bad for Christian, but it's just, it is what it is, right? It was, he was up there talking, and they introduced their piece, and it was kind of the kind of piece that Red Bull put together, where it was looking at car culture and all that. Was it gave a little bit of like a silence brand to me, if you know what that means. Like, it felt like, but I think if any brand can get away with trying to kind of pander to the culture, then Red Bull kind of can get away with it, right? As as brands go, okay? Red Bull can get away with that because they are kind of a youthful brand and they supported a lot of, extreme sports and different disciplines that other brands haven't touched, right? So I get that. But then when they brought the car out and then Liam and Max walking along waving and they had all the people behind them, like, I was like, that's a bit much. That felt a bit much. That felt like fine in the piece, but then just let Max and Liam walk out and like have their moment, right? I know Max doesn't want to be there. Most of the drivers probably don't want to be there. But, give Max and give Liam his moment in Red Bull, not with all these people dancing behind him, you know what I mean? So I felt that was a bit unnecessary and that felt a bit cringe, right? That felt a bit cringe to me. And it was funny as well because they didn't even bother showing the livery, right? Because you saw the car coming along and the people dancing around and the camera was on Max and then it was on Liam. It wasn't really on the car. And then they just cut away because it is the same as last year. Apart from they've replaced one crypto sponsor with another. Woo! Fantastic. Love it. Not much more to say about Christian and Red Bull and Max and Liam. Ferrari next, which was the one I was most excited for coming into this. I've got to say, very, very excited to see Ferrari, see Lewis in that Ferrari, but also because this feels like Ferrari's moment, particularly for Charles. I think this is his championship winning year. I've put my prediction out there. We'll see if it comes true or not. Someone asked me yesterday, actually, who are you rooting for this season? And you probably won't believe me, and that's fine. You don't have to believe me. Honestly, the only thing I want to happen this year is for Alex to hold his own against Carlos. If he can just hold his own against Carlos, then I don't care who wins the title. I don't care who is terrible. I don't care who's great. I really don't care. All I care about is Alex holding his own against Carlos and at least being close. That's all I care about. When I actually think about it, that's literally. It's if George won, that would be cool. That would be great if George won the championship. Imagine that. No one's giving him a chance and he comes through and wins it. If Max wins it, then he's got to go down straight away. It's one of the top 3 of all time. Given the car he's got and given the competitiveness of the drivers around him, if Max can win it again this year, bro, man's possibly the GOAT. And Ferrari, I tell you what, right? This livery, the HP. I like HP in my sauce, not on my Ferrari F1 cars, right? Because the blue, man, the blue. And the thing is, I saw someone on Twitter post, I can't remember who it was, I apologise. But someone, HP do use a black and white lockup of their logo for marketing. And the blue and white is for corporate. Bro, it's F1, this is marketing. Use the black and white. You immediately make this livery better. Also, you've got a circular lockup on the back rear wing and on the front wing where it just doesn't fit those spaces. It just breaks. And then you've got IBM on the rear. I'm not even showing you because it just deeply hurts me. The blue rear wing at the back with IBM little in the middle. Because IBM's not a wide and short logo. It's a fat logo, right? Okay. It's pretty much a square. It doesn't fit that space. All the time you have to leave the space and they've left too much space either side because the logo doesn't fit. It's, the Ferrari logo, no, the Ferrari word mark on the rear logo, on the rear wing looks so magnifique and we don't have it. It's just, this livery, okay, it is disappointing. I've got to be honest. That white sheer on it as well, which I know is quite offended quite a lot of people. And I get it because it's too big, it's too thick, it's too overpowering. And look, again, right, I don't expect you to believe me, okay? But, spoiler alert, I've already started on some of my livery redesigns because I've got a lot to do, right? So I'm trying to get ahead. I've made a start on 3 of them. And now that I've seen them all, I'm going to have to change some bits on some of them, but at least I've made a start. And, well, I'll show you on my phone. And I had not seen this beforehand, and I took this inspiration from the race suits, but I have put quite a similar thing at the back, which so I was doing the Ferrari one yesterday. I've basically already done the Williams, but I'm going to have to go back and change some bits now that they've finished. But I've already made like 90% of it. I'm going to change some bits. And I've done the Ferrari, 90%. I'm going to change some bits. And then Haas, I'm about halfway through my Haas one. But yeah, anyway, that was a little spoiler for my Ferrari redesign. But I'm going to keep it because I feel like, okay, well, they've done something very similar, but mine's just going to be better, okay? Which is the whole point, surely. It's the whole point. And you also, I don't know about you, right? But I feel like the driver overalls are more of like a crimson red, which I like. I was hoping, and I just feel like the car isn't that. Maybe it is, and it's like with the Astons, right? Because the car green always looks different to the suit green, but sometimes it can be difficult to match colours when it's, cotton. I don't know what material they use on the overalls, right? Cotton blends and fireproofs, whatever, with the driver suits versus the actual paint/wrap on a car. It must be hard sometimes to get it done. But yeah, I would have liked more of a maroon on the car. But then again, I don't know, like when I look at this shot, it does look quite maroon. So, and yeah, too many sponsors. You know what, James? Too many sponsors. And like, there's a lot of sponsors. You got to say, there is a lot of sponsors that are trying to cram in. And because even when I've already made a start on my Williams redesign. And I got halfway through and I was like, you know what, Williams, I'm proud of you. Because I remember when I used to do these livery redesigns. And Williams, I was like, bro, there's so much space. Because they've got like 8 sponsors. And now, Williams, they've got tons. They've got loads of sponsors. And I'm like, oh, wow, fair play to them. Fair play. Good for them. Secured the bag. So I appreciate that. Wondering how it'll look at 9 a.m. in Maranello. Indeed, Helita, because they are doing the little shakedown tomorrow, aren't they, Ferrari? So keep an eye on that at Furano. And time will tell. Can this be the car that delivers the 2025 F1 World Championship to Maranello for the first time since Kimi Räikkönen in 2007? Time will tell. Time will tell. And don't worry as well, in my redesign, the HP is not blue. There is no blue anywhere to be seen on my Ferrari redesign. And then finally, was there anything else about Ferrari that was kind of interested? Great reception for Lewis. Yes, actually. Like, unbelievable reception for Lewis. Again, London, home crowd. It's always going to be very... You could tell this event was in the UK, okay? From the, even Max got a few boos, which I was like, okay, whatever. But you're in the UK, right? So you're going to get Lando and Lewis getting a big, good reception. So fair enough. And that's why, I hope this isn't a one-off, in part because I think this is a cool event that they should now. They've done the UK. Proof of concept. I think it went really well. Take it around the world, Obviously, they'll go in New York or LA next. Duh, obviously, they're always going to go to America as soon as they possibly can. But in the future... Let's see this popping up everywhere. Let's see 1 year pop it up in India, 1 year pop it up in China, 1 year pop it up in South Africa, 1 year pop it up in Argentina. Imagine this F1 75 event in Argentina. Bro, that would be crazy. That would be so sick. But they'll probably put it in Abu Dhabi. Right, so Ferrari done. Finally, last team, McLaren. Again, very, very similar livery. They are trying to build that consistency. There's a few little changes that I do prefer. There was some like weird coloured logo around the front, which isn't really that visible on these shots. Shock. McLaren have tried to hide the ugliest part of the car, which is that new sponsor at Alin, I want to say. That's like teal blue. Yeah, the blue mirrors are jarring. They've made a few little subtle, like the nose. There's the papaya's wider on the nose, I think. Anyway, actually, I haven't actually checked, but I'm pretty sure it looks to me like the papaya on the nose is a bit wider. But then the the kind of angular slash at the back is the same. The Velo, the OKX, those, and the chrome placement and all that is the same. And I feel like they've got their template here, McLaren, that they'll stick with. And again, I'm not against that as long as they mix it up every now and then. But yeah, the tealy blue is deeply jarring, deeply disturbing. Did not enjoy that at all. When Oscar and Lando walked out, actually, that was the music they had, the background music, and Oscar was like, it was very like, it was good. It was like WWE, like walking out, decent. And they had the lineup of the old McLaren cars as well, which is cool. Again, lean on your heritage if you have it. So all I'll say is, McLaren, if you're gonna win again, if you're gonna win back-to-back constructors titles, if you're gonna deliver a drivers' championship to Lando or to Oscar, please upgrade from Castor. Because Castor is notoriously shoddy quality, okay? Ask any football fan. And, bro, just the Nike connection needs to happen. You know? The papaya, the Nike, like, it just works. Just make it Adidas, Mercedes, Bosch, lovely, works a treat, really nice. Nike, McLaren, get it done. Come on, Zach. If you're big Mr. Marketing man, American Nike, get to Oregon and get it done, right? Nike have gone through a bit of a bad spell recently. They need to recover. F1, a blooming, burgeoning sport. Get it in, right? Get it in. That's what I want to see. That's what I want to see. And there we have it. That's all 10 teams reflected on for the F1 75 event. Will it be back? Will it be back? I don't know. Could I see it coming back next year? Maybe, because it's the new regulations 2026 and turning this into a regular event. I think it's a good thing. I do. I like it. I think it gives fans who, yes, the tickets were expensive at the O2, of course, right? But also tickets at Silverstone are expensive, more expensive. So it gives fans an opportunity to go to an event, like-minded F1 fans around them. There's very few opportunities. You know, if you're a football fan, you've got hundreds of games every weekend that you could go to, whether it's like Premier League, Championship, League 1, League 2, whatever. Hundreds of options to go and watch football with like-minded people and that. F1, whatever country you're in, there's very, very few opportunities to go and experience that, let alone with other people. Go to like an event at a place like the O2 in London, which is cool. Do it in a different place each year. I'm all for it. I am, truly. I think it can really be a good, valuable, interesting, regular part of the season build-up of this sport. Because I was pleasantly surprised. It was very high production value. Would they be able to replicate that in every nation? Maybe not. Maybe they could. If this is something that F1's prepared to take the financial hit on, because it would have cost them a lot of money to put this together. Perhaps trim down a bit, buds. Yeah, fair. And thank you, Dime, by the way, for the super chat. Much appreciated. Hope you keep them well. Check out Dime's channel. Great stuff. Great work. Yeah, I thought it was good. Much better than just some corporate hour-long interview, Oliver. Agreed. And you know, I think as well, like, what I think maybe is a nice balance is you have the teams, you allow them to do their private launches, team launches, if you want to call it that, at their facilities. They can invite fans, you know, Williams have Williams fans, they can invite Aston have Aston fans, they can invite Ferrari have Ferrari fans, they can invite to Maranello or Woking or wherever the team is. And you have your own private launch event where you do a shakedown of the car and you run Williams had their kind of camo, which, whatever. McLaren had a proper camo livery. Like, camo liveries are cool. Like, most of the time people are like, oh, cool, camo livery. Like, it's something, right? And you just have that built in to the, you launch your team. It means that, Williams could shout about Carlos because that's a big deal for Williams, a huge deal for Williams. And Ferrari can shout about Lewis privately as well. And they can really capitalize on those moments themselves and then go and do the event where you launch your kind of main car what it's going to look like. You have this big event. I think it's pretty cool. I think it's decent. Invite a better band, Nelly. You want? Well, look, got to have something for everyone, right? If you're trying to tick all the boxes, it's not gonna 100% everyone. But I think there's good potential for this going forward. I do. The Mercedes tyre change was, yeah, it was a bit Valtteri Bottas at Monaco, wasn't it? It wasn't quite as seamless as they were hoping it was going to be. And yeah, no DJs. No DJs in the future. Just shorter DJ sets, you know? Just a 5-minute Fred again set. Bosh. That would have scratched the itch, surely. Thank you, Gladiator Knight, by the way, for the super chat. Jack handled disrespectful Colapinto questions at the press conference as well. Sorry, you know what's bad when you read that? I thought you meant Jack Whitehall. Jack Doohan handled disrespectful Colapinto questions at the press conference well. Hope he shines this year, plus makes those hoping for his failure look stupid. Yeah, it's always because it's difficult, right? Because it is like, obviously with Colapinto going to Alpine reserve, Mercado Libre going over as well to Alpine, like, we're not stupid, okay? We can all see the optics of that. And obviously Jack can see the optics of that. Everyone can see the optics of that. So then you go to, asking Jack a question as a journalist. On one hand, it's like, well, everyone knows this is a thing, so you want to get a soundbite out of him, which I understand that fundamentally. But yeah, I do also think, like, you're not, what are you, by asking Jack about, it was like, what was the question? It was like, do you feel like there's, I can't remember what the question was exactly. Do you feel like there's a target on your back, or there's, I don't know, I can't remember exactly what it was. And you're kind of like, what are you expecting to get out of Jack? Like, he's just, of course he's going to say, I'm just going to crack on with my season and enjoy it and not think about, like, obviously he's going to say that. So I don't see the point in asking a question where you're only going to get an answer that you already know, or make him, like, uncomfortable. Like, it's just, there's been so much talk and he sees it all. Of course he does. Yeah, I don't know. It must be a fine line, right, in journalism. It's just like, we can all see, we're not stupid. We can all see what's going on, and Jack can see what's going on. And it's like, yeah, it's a tough situation, but I just really hope Jack makes the most of it, and I hope he performs well. I really do. Thank you for the super chat. Have you seen everyone booing FIA segment? Yeah, I mean, that was just chef's kiss. That a good old FIA boo. Well done, everyone who went. That was excellent. I enjoyed it. But yeah, look, I hope it goes well for him. I hope it goes well for Jack. He deserves, again, a fair crack at the whip, I think, for sure. When is the first livery redesign video coming out, George? Well, good question. So, a couple of things. So, plan is now to get 10 livery redesigns done in less than 10 days. I'm aiming for 2 a day. We'll see. We'll see. I'm going to be locked in hermit for a while to try and get as many done as I can, as quickly as I can, because F1 has decided to launch them all in one day. Thank you. Selfishly, it's annoying, but actually the event was good, and I hope they keep doing it. Also, there's another video, which I was originally hoping to get out Monday, and then I was hoping to get out today. Unfortunately, it hasn't been approved in time. I did say on my community post it is because I'm waiting for approval from a certain F1 team. So, does anyone remember the video I did with Lando and Oscar? Dream F1 team? Maybe it's back again. We'll see. Hopefully it's out tomorrow. If not, I'll just get it out. As soon as they approve it, it's going to be out. So, yeah, it's another current F1 driver ticked off my has been on the channel list. So that's always good. And I'm not telling you who. I'm keeping that to me. All right. Mark Webber. Iconic Lando. Very good. Right. I am done. Quick one. The vote. 6,000 of you voted. What do you think of F1 75? 15% of you voted banger. 45% small bang. So 60% of you have a positive sentiment. 26% and 14% mild clang or clanger. So most of you enjoyed it. And so did I. And thank you, Caleb, as well, for the super chat. Thoughts on Martin Brundle as the next James Bond? Absolutely. And you know what? There's not many opportunities, I guess, for someone like Martin, even though he's in broadcasting, to present in such of a big audience. And it was a vibe, him doing the McLaren one at the end, actually. I really did enjoy that. And we are done. Thank you all for joining. Furkan, Andy, Nick, Champ, Cowrie, Zephyr, Dot, Pinto, Marlon, Brando, Manuel, Awkward, MMA, Halita, Sense, IBK, Oliver, George. Thank you all for joining me here live on YouTube. Thank you to everyone watching after the fact on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all that good stuff. I'm done. I've realised I didn't record this live stream, so I'm going to have to download it afterwards and upload a slightly reduced quality from YouTube, which is annoying. But there you go. Game's the game. 2025 is here, and I'm gassed. I'm excited. Thank you again, everyone, for enabling me to do this as a job. I'll forever be grateful. It is quite the privilege. It really is. My name's Tomo. Thanks again. Have a good one. Ta-da.